Welcome to the Champs App podcast. Champs App is your recruiting and development copilot. If you are a player, parent, or coach, make sure to check out more content and tools to help navigate the world of youth hockey at champs.app. Also, if you've listened to the Champs App podcast in the past and it has helped you with your recruiting or hockey development, please tell your teammates and friends about Champs App. It would be even better if you subscribe to the podcast and review or rate us on whichever platform you're listening to or watching us on. On today's episode, I talk with Meghan Sweezey, head coach of the St. Michael's women's hockey program. We go into detail on the St. Mike's academics, facilities, and hockey team. Meghan shares her perspective on why players should choose the Purple Knights and gives some insightful recruiting advice. This is a great, honest conversation with Meghan, so I hope you enjoy it. Ready to see how you stack up against future Division I players? Champs EyeQ gives you an unbiased look at your potential. Just submit at least 10 minutes of your edited shifts, and our expert scouts will provide an objective, data-driven analysis of your game. We'll evaluate you on more than 15 skills, giving you both an overall rating and a clear trajectory for your Division I potential. You'll know exactly where you stand and what you need to do to improve. Learn more at www.champs.app. I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast Meghan Sweezey, head coach of the St. Michael's Purple Knights women's hockey team. Originally from Linfield, Massachusetts, Meghan played her college hockey at St. Michael's and was a captain in her senior year. In addition to running her own hockey school, Meghan was a coach with St. Mike's in various roles for 8 seasons between 2013 and 2024 before becoming head coach last year. Welcome to the podcast, Meghan.
Thanks so much, Ray. Great to be here.
Awesome. So why don't we start out like we do all our guests and just share a little bit about your hockey history, how you started playing hockey in Massachusetts and then eventually working your way north.
Sure. So I grew up, obviously Massachusetts is a pretty big hockey state. But I actually started off in the figure skating realm. My mom is actually a professional figure skating instructor and runs a Learn to Skate program at Reading, Mass. And so I started off with the figure skates on, and then I probably as soon as I could walk, right around then, probably like 1 or 2, and then ended up going, really liking hockey as well. My dad was a hockey player. He played at Salem State. So we kind of had me do both hockey and figure skating from ages 6 to 12. And then I decided that figure skating really wasn't for me. I was stuck on the same badge level for a really long time, and I decided I liked hockey better. So I stuck with hockey from 12 on, hockey only.
I'm just curious, did your figure skating help you with hockey because you obviously were pretty good with your edges?
Yeah, I definitely would say that my skating is a little bit unorthodox, but my edge work is very good. So I think that I definitely credit figure skating, and I actually use it a lot when I'm coaching as well, especially with my G4H program. So really, really, very influential from that standpoint for sure.
Perfect. And maybe while you just mentioned it, explain to folks what G4H is, Girls for Hockey, in that program. So.
Yeah, G4H stands for Girls for Hockey, as you mentioned. It's a program that I started in 2016 when I was the assistant coach prior at St. Mike's, and basically just realized that there weren't a lot of skill development opportunities that were girls only that were around, and started off with a small just doing a once a week clinic. I also realized that there weren't any female coaches really on the ice at the time, coaching anyone. So the goal is twofold. One is to provide the skill development opportunity with female mentorship, and providing opportunities for female coaches to get on the ice and kind of get their skates under them, and in hopes that they'll go out in the community and coach later on. So
perfect. Beautiful. That's definitely was needed, definitely at that time, because now it's become a lot more prevalent. Let's get back to your hockey career, and you're now actually playing ice hockey.
Yeah, for sure. So I played boys hockey for quite a long time. I grew up in an era, again, kind of leading back to the G4H thing a little bit, but in an era where girls hockey wasn't as prevalent. I was from a small, Linfield's pretty small, so we didn't have a girls program. So I grew up playing with the boys. I played all the way through my junior year of high school. On the boys team, I did dip into some different girls club programs throughout that time period as well. I played for the really original North Shore Vipers team when it was out of Peabody, instead of Tewksbury, and also was on one of the original just split season teams for the East Coast Wizards. So cool to be around when that stuff was sort of all starting up and being a part of it. I then my senior year, so I got cut from the varsity program my junior year for boys hockey. I was really upset because I was one of the better players, but they were afraid I was going to get hurt essentially. And so I worked with my family and with some contacts we had, and we actually ended up, me and a couple other girls from Linfield ended up co-oping and playing for Reading Memorial High School. And it was one of the best decisions that I ever made. We had a really successful season after they hadn't made playoffs. We made it to the state final. We had a really cool and unique team. And from there, I ended up, I would say that experience is really what ended up getting me to the college level, along with going to a couple of clinics and showcases. I ended up basically being a little bit more restricted because I was late to the recruiting process a little bit, on where I would end up. Basically, like I could only really go to the schools that I had decided I liked and that I applied to. By the time that I sort of started making a mark where people would notice like who I was a little bit more. So it ended up coming down to a decision between actually Salve and St. Mike's. And the day before I had to make my decision, the Salve coach left, so I ended up at St. Mike's. I was leaning towards St. Mike's anyway. In full transparency, we have like a connection to Vermont. I learned how to ski up here, so it felt like home anyway. And yeah, and then I had a really successful playing career playing for Chris, and you know, grew as a person and as a player. And um yeah, it's kind of all fell in place from there. A lot of things in my life came to me after I made my decision to come to St. Mike's, and I owe it a lot, so I'm happy to be here and happy to be giving it back.
Perfect. Yes, and so just so folks know, when you said Chris, you meant Chris Donovan,
Yeah,
who was on
sorry.
this podcast about 3.5 years ago, and first introduced us to St. Mike's. And yeah, so you had a very successful career, 71 points in 103 games. I think you would take that from 18 of your players today if you can get that many points. And also maybe just talk about your playing career. I noticed the other thing which was very interesting was that you averaged almost 30 PIMs, penalty minutes per season. So maybe talk about your playing style and how you were. You must have been a power forward if you're getting that many, basically, 1 minute per game in penalty minutes.
Yeah, I think it also took me a little while to transition and forget, like, not like remember that I was playing girls hockey sometimes. I definitely had a little bit of a body checking problem at times. The game back then wasn't as physical. If I was playing today, I think I would be fine. But yeah, I think I was relatively physical. I actually learned. I don't know that at the time I knew my identity as a player as much, but I would actually say that I'm way more of a playmaker than I am like a power forward. I'm like a dirty goals, rebound girl, love tipping the puck, that sort of player. But I also see the ice really well because I grew up actually. I played forward at St. Mike's, but when I played boys, I played defense, and I had to like move the puck quickly to not get hit by people that were twice my size. So I think that was really formative for me, and I feel like because I was on the blue line, I saw the ice really well. And then when I moved to forward, when I changed full time to girls hockey, I realized like, oh, I like am like really like making plays. I am not a person, and I never was a person that can um like completely take the entire team on my back. Like I need people around me to help me out. And I like assists more than I like goals, frankly. Like I love seeing the play and what, making a pass and be like, yeah, I like timed that well and that got over there. So that's more of that's the player I became. At the time, I think I definitely was in the box a little bit because I was a little bit of a wrecking ball at times and occasionally probably lost my cool, in full transparency. But it also comes from just playing a lot of minutes. So
Perfect. All right. Well, now we know your attitude about how you play on the ice, and I'm assuming that you take that into the coaching ranks. So let's just talk about the various roles that you've had prior at St. Mike's, and then how you actually got the job of head coach.
sure. So I got my first after I graduated from St. Mike's originally, I actually went back to school for school counseling at Suffolk University in Boston, and then ended up coming back, really want to come back to Burlington. I grew up in the Boston area. I love Massachusetts, but I really like the pace up here of Vermont, so I started looking for jobs in Vermont. And ended up applying for our alumni relations position here. So I came back initially for alumni relations, but again, Chris Donovan, my predecessor, and the person that coached me as well, was still in the head coaching position here, and he needed a volunteer assistant. So I started off as volunteer assistant, just helping out at a couple practices a week. And then over time, as staff left, I ended up sliding into the sort of the top assistant role at the time, and also still doing my job in alumni relations. So at the time, the part-time role on our staff was the first assistant role. So I ended up doing that for several years. I left in 2018. I left St. Mike's completely. I worked for Special Olympics Vermont for a little bit, which was a really awesome experience in fundraising and event planning. For those people that know the Penguin Plunge, that was kind of my thing that I ran. And then ended up helping out with strength and conditioning on the side a little bit with the program. And then I had like a year or two off in there. I don't remember how many years. And ended up coming back as the volunteer assistant again. And then ended up kind of coming into this role. So at the time, I was not, when Chris left, I was not looking for a college coaching job. I was full-time doing Girls for Hockey. I was local, I was in the area. And it's something that I had thought about for a long time, and something that I more saw myself doing maybe like 10 years ago. But I'm grateful to be a little bit older now and kind of have a little bit more experience with just life and being in this position. And I jumped at the chance to be able to be at the helm. I really, really care deeply about this program. It's given me a lot and a lot of things in my life, and I really am like just excited to be here, like I said before. So
Tired of spending hours emailing coaches with no idea if they're even reading your messages? Champs App Messaging is here to change that. Champs App Messaging is the fastest, easiest way to connect with coaches, cutting your email time by more than 50%. You'll know exactly when your emails are opened, and avoid common mistakes with smart templates that pull info directly from your Champs App profile. With Champs App Messaging, you can send personalized emails to women's and men's hockey coaches in seconds, without the hassle of copy-pasting or searching for contact info. Our built-in templates automatically fill in the coach's name, email, and key details from your profile, ensuring every message is accurate and complete. And all your sent messages? Tracked in one easy-to-manage place. Save time by storing your best emails as personal templates. No more rewriting or digging through old messages. Wondering if a coach opened your email? With tracking, you'll know when and how often your message was read, giving you valuable insight into their interest. One parent told us, "What used to take a whole evening now takes under 2 hours." Another said it was exciting to know a coach actually read the email. If you're sending 10 or more emails, Champs App Messaging will save you time, reduce errors, and give you real recruiting insight into team interest throughout your journey. Ready to make recruiting easier? Try Champs App Messaging for free. Just log into your Champs App account today.
We were talking a little bit before we hit record, but I believe you actually have the hardest job in Division I women's hockey. So, and we'll get into the reasons why, but let's just talk about all the great things about St. Michael's. First, let's just talk about Burlington, Vermont, a phenomenal city on a phenomenal lake. It's just beautiful there. Maybe just talk about Burlington, Vermont, and what a great place it is to live.
sure. I mean, it definitely drew me back here for one originally, but you hit a couple major things. Like, it's beautiful. Number one, we're on a lake. There's mountains in the background. There's always frequently a really cool sunset. Burlington's a really great city. Sort of small town feel. It doesn't feel like a city for people from, real cities. So it's good. I think you can establish a ton of community here. I'll probably talk about that a little bit later as well, but I love being here because I love the small town feel, and I love knowing people and going to your local restaurant and seeing, people that are familiar and all of that. I also, sidebar, like, our shopping is pretty good. We're kind of a foodie town. And the big thing that brought me back, as an adult, is also that there's just a lot to do, especially outside. And hiking, mountain biking, skiing, all that stuff. Of course, skiing shouldn't be like a super draw for our players since we're in season, but those are the kinds of things that really, I think, draw people here. Obviously, like, seasons are great. We've got beautiful fall with foliage. We've got snow in the winter. And then, especially this fall has been particularly great. And then you got a little mud season. That's like a thing up here. But then, towards the end of the semester, spring semester, you're getting to see some really nice days. And yeah, so that's it. We're kind of a college town. We've got us, we've got UVM, we've got Champlain, all in the same spot. So that's pretty cool as well.
I do remember when I asked Chris about if the players were allowed to ski, his comment was, "Don't ask, don't tell." So as long as you don't get hurt, I don't want to know about it. And you will let it go from there. All right. So now let's talk about St. Michael's. Phenomenal education, a great academic institution. Talk about that, what the different majors are, and why it's such a great place to go to school.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's there's a ton of things to offer. We have, first of all, like on the athletic side of things, we're really connected with the professors. So there's like a really great give and take and understanding of like academics are important and athletics are important too. And that's really awesome. We actually have what we call like a 3Cs model here where it's what is it? Community, competition, and classroom. So those are the three things that we sort of like rate ourselves on here as a program, as like in terms of all of athletics. So again, classroom is high up there. I'd say our biggest majors here tend to be business, education, psychology. We are a liberal arts school, so the beauty of it, and honestly, as an alum, like something that I treasure about St. Mike's is that it gives you the opportunity to explore if you're not really sure what you want to do, and because you have to take those core requirements in a bunch of different disciplines, and it makes you more well-rounded. I think there's so many opportunities in the classroom, and also if you're a high flyer and you're a high academic achiever, you've got options for honors programs. We have a ton of awesome student research that goes on here. We've had many finalists for Fulbright, and all of that kind of stuff. So really great opportunities. I think there's something for everyone here. And there's different pathways to get to where you want to go. I know, like, for example, one thing is we don't have nursing, and I know that is like a little bit challenging sometimes for us recruiting, and I'm sure in terms of people that are looking, but our general health sciences program is incredibly strong. So there's many pathways to kind of get to where you want to go, even if it's not exactly like nursing is the major, you know what I mean? So yeah, and then again, the professors are really great. I think the biggest thing that we tout here is there's like no hiding. We have really small class sizes, so like you will be in class and you will be doing what you're supposed to be doing here, as opposed to sort of the big giant lecture halls where your professor may or may not even know if you're there. So I think that's something that separates us from other Division Ones. We take academics very seriously here, and it's not to say that others don't, but just that there's again no sort of hiding from the academic experience, because your professors like will kind of contact us and be like, where was this kid today? So just yeah, that's kind of my spiel.
So a couple things. One is, so I'm assuming if you're going to St. Michael's and playing hockey, the academics got to be really, really important, because you know the history has shown that you're not going there to win a national championship so far, and so therefore that's why it's so important to really understand what a great opportunity there is academically at St. Mike's. In addition, I don't remember the exact number, but I believe a significant portion of your student population are student athletes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so that's why like the school welcomes student athletes, because it is such a high proportion of the students. All right, so now let's get into the hockey side of things. Now St. Mike's is one of the schools that shares a rink with kind of a rink with other teams and things like that. You don't have your own rink specifically for the men's or women's team. Maybe just talk about the facilities, and as well as the workout areas and things like that.
Sure. I'll start with the workout areas because most of them are on campus. So we have a varsity weight room here. We have a strength and conditioning coach that's dedicated to our sports teams. So we do have that as an option. There's also a like a regular gym where you can go if for some reason the varsity weight room is closed or there's a team using it and you need to come at an off time. And then from there, there's also within one of our within our student center, there's also more of like a cardio gym with just a couple of free weights. So there's plenty of places to get a workout in. But we typically use the varsity weight room as our program, and it is on campus. We've also created a shooting space here where our players can come and shoot pucks if they want to do that. It's not again at the rink, but it's here, which is actually kind of nice with having a rink that's off campus. If people want to just come, we also have like ladders and things in there if people want to get a little bit more of a workout in, stick handling balls, all of that. So I always tell my players, like, we need to be a team that does the extras, and they're always in the shooting space using it, or always trying to do a recovery lift on their own, even if it's not required. So that's kind kind of like who we are and who, what we're trying to be as people that do the extra so that we improve and we take care of our bodies and we get better. In terms of the facilities and the rink, yes, we play in a rink. It does have 2 sheets, which is really, really nice, Cairns Arena. So one of the benefits of that is that whenever we overlap with the men's team in terms of games, we're not getting pushed to an earlier start time. We can just play at the same time. So that's pretty nice. We still get prime time. And honestly, we kind of enjoy when we play with the men because people will walk back and forth to our games because we stagger the start a little bit. And same with practice. Our teams both practice in the morning and, we'll split. So Mondays and Wednesdays we'll be on the upper rink and then we'll swap with them Tuesdays, Thursdays, and we'll be on the lower rink. So it's really kind of good from that standpoint, is from an equity piece. And then the other thing that I really enjoy about the rink is that, we are, and again, coming back to that community feel in Burlington, we do play in the same facility as like youth programs do and high school programs do, etc. So sometimes, as the screens on the wall, it says what locker rooms you're in and what time your stuff's at. If you look, a lot of little kids will like look at it with their parents and they'll be like, oh, St. Mike's is playing later, like we'll come back or we'll stay after our game, etc. So I think from that standpoint, it's a cool opportunity to sort of market and advertise ourselves and have people just around the rink. And from that standpoint, you make kind of connections with people, and our team does a lot of community events as well. But it's cool from that standpoint. And then the last point I'll make is that while the rink isn't ours per se, we do have our own locker room. It's a pretty nice locker room. We also have like St. Mike Zamboni, our logos in the ice, our banners are on the wall. So like it definitely feels like ours. And we do feel like while it's off campus, it's not like a super heavy lift because it's like 7 to 10 minutes away, depending on if you hit traffic lights or not.
Nice to be in a small town where, just traffic lights and stop signs to get you between.
Yeah, Dorset Street's a little tough because if you hit every red light, it could be more like 12, 15 minutes, but it depends on the time of day. So.
Got it. Okay, so maybe just talk about your staff. I know you just hired Olivia McLean, who's new to your staff. You also have a volunteer coach. But overall, my perspective is you guys are a little bit understaffed, considering that you could have 3 assistant coaches plus, an operations coach. And I don't know if you have, you're maxed out on all those positions or not.
You got it. So first of all, I just want to give Olivia a shout out. She is on like week 3 here and she's absolutely crushing it. She's got an unbelievable hockey mind, and being able to lean on her has been super great. She's been ready to jump in without like a ton of experience. So really appreciate her and looking forward to the future, kind of working together. Yeah, I mean, we just have the 2 of us that are full time. We are a little bit more limited on those types of human resources, but I think we do 2 things. One is we impress upon the players the importance of, again, kind of picking each other up in community, and that includes everyone sort of pitching in where they need to and being responsible for their own stuff. So from flipping the script a little bit about maybe what some of the negatives are of that, the positives are that our players learn to be like self-advocates and learn to take care of their own stuff. And, we're not sitting there laying out all their hockey equipment before the game. Like that's like an above and beyond. And if they want to do that, they can do that themselves. And, we also have typically we have a student manager position, so that's helpful. We have a player that is unable to play this year who's sort of filling that role for us, so that's been helpful so far. And then our volunteer assistant and our goalie coach fill in as much as they can. So while it's it is a heavy lift, I'm going to be pretty transparent about that, but it's the 2 people in these roles need to be jacks of all trades, and I think Olivia and I both are, so we're able to cover a lot of ground doing a lot of stuff. So
perfect. All right, so we're going to get back to kind of why you're in the situation that you're in with the we'll just say limited resources, but let's just talk first about and get it out on the table, where your team is actually at. It's been, you moved up from, I believe it's Division 2 technically, and playing a Division 1 schedule. This will be your 6th season, and it's been tough. let's be realistic. There's only, I believe, 14 wins in those 5 years, and you got 4 of them last year, which is awesome, right? Like, you were literally infinitely better than the year before because the team didn't get any wins 2 seasons ago, and you had a great win against the Nuha champion, Sacred Heart. So it's not like you can't play against some of these teams, but you've had some challenges. So I'm not going to go through all the stats as to what they are, but they and they aren't pretty. But maybe just talk about kind of where you're at within the Nuha and the team in terms of success and your philosophy on what success looks like for the team.
Sure. I think that I learned a lot last year. Let's just say that. In terms of just mentality, I think that when you come off a season or many seasons that have not been as successful, there starts to be this like, oh, we're gonna fail sort of mindset. It's not like out in the open, but it's like somewhere in the back of our brains. So we worked a ton last year on not focusing on winning and focusing on like the little tiny like victories that are gonna eventually mount to winning. The other piece that I'll say is that I do think that there are some good carryovers from history and from the teams that have worked hard to get us where we are now, regardless of their win-loss record. So I think one of the things is we have never really been a team that has quit. Like, I know for a while that we used the phrase historically, like never quit. And I do think that that is something that we've always strived for. Like, we're always trying to give teams the hardest time that we possibly can. I think that it was just a mental switch that we needed to get at, and we started figuring it out towards the end of the year. As you mentioned, we surprised Sacred Heart pretty good and in their $75 million rank, which was nice. And then I think the weekend prior, the weekend after, we also went to overtime against LIU twice, and we were messing with the first 2 place standings. Like, part of the reason why it ended up the way it was that the 8th place team came out of nowhere and messed things up for them. So it was cool to have that happen and to gain momentum. I think that, again, we spent last year learning how to and remembering that we can win. And that also energy in the locker room and on the bench and on the ice is super, what is the word? Like, lends itself to momentum on the ice. Like, if your goalie makes a big save, if you make a big block, like, all of those things change the momentum, and we need to figure out how to capitalize on that. And there were a couple times last year where we just turned the tables and the other teams were like, what is happening? So I think the focus for us moving forward is just making sure that we're coming together as a team, making sure we're being positive, making sure we're picking people up, and staying out of a little bit more of a, oh no, it's happening to us again mindset. I also think that making sure that everybody is on the same page in terms of our 3 C's model, like I mentioned, and that we're here for hockey, but we're also here for other things. Not to say that we're not focusing on hockey, but I think having those other things outside of hockey helps us be better hockey players. So.
Got it. All right. So I'm going to ask you a general question, but if you could make it specific to St. Mike's, that would be great.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you the same question I asked Lee J. Mirasolo on the last episode from Stonehill. So why does Nuha, because I've been tracking the Nuha for 5 years now since I've been doing this, why can they pretty much can't beat a non-conference opponent? Is it money, scholarships, academics, facilities, coaching? Why is it such a challenge for that conference? And I know it's still up and coming, but it has been 5 years, right? And I tracked just not only the lack of wins, but just the 4 goals against ratio, and it was obscene. Why is that challenge? And you even saw it this past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is resources, like, frankly, like, I think that there's like, it's kind of a multifaceted issue, but yeah, I think it's definitely resources from some standpoints, and I'm not just talking about us. I think I'm talking about a lot of different things. I'll be very interested to see like kind of what Sacred Heart in particular's trajectory is, because they do seem to have more. And they've got the rink. I know that they've got a decent scholarshiping model, et cetera, et cetera. There's some fanciness to playing for them, all of that. Outside of that, I don't really have like a great answer for you. I think we all also tend to be on the smaller side in terms of schools, so I don't really know like what the connection is there, but that seems to be a little bit of a theme for us in the Nuha. But outside of that, like I really don't have a great answer other than that like we're still like young, but I do think that equity of resources across the Nuha would be helpful in terms of just baseline expectations to be within the league. Including things like, video review, those sort of things. So yeah, I'm waffling a little bit, but I really haven't thought about it in advance too much, and I don't really, outside of resources, I can't really think of much. I don't know if Lee J had anything else to say about it, but.
Well, I'll let you listen to the episode so you can
All
hear
right,
what you
yeah, I
have to say.
should have done my homework before.
All right, so let's talk about St. Mike's in particular. So since I started Champs app, Assumptions come in, Stonehills come in, and they basically leapfrogged you in post as in terms of their success. So what can you guys do to kind of move up the rankings?
Sure. I think that one thing that I've been doing that's seems to be pretty effective is just like making sure that we're recruiting players who are here for all the things I mentioned. So like they're also here for academics. It's a good fit for them. They like a small school setting. They're going to be successful in those realms. And also recruiting players who sort of understand what they're signing up for in terms of like, again, some of the resources. So, hey, like we play in a community rink. Like if that's not okay with you, then maybe like this isn't the place for you to be. And making sure that we have the people here who we need and fitting them to the mold that we are looking for. We are always, based on how we are structured, we're always going to need to be a blue collar team that's working really hard and outworking our opponents. So people that are willing to put in the hard work, and then also people that aren't just here because they want to play Division 1. They're here because they want to work and want to get better at hockey and help us change our program. So I think that is something that I've identified as sort of a target. People that are self-motivated, people that are like, again, good energy in the locker room, all of those things. And that's not to say that we didn't have that in the past. I just feel like specifically targeting those people is what's going to help us sort of leapfrog and move up the ranks. And because I need people that want to stay after practice and shoot pucks and do, like today a couple of our players were sprinting themselves and we weren't on the ice anymore. They were just doing it. Like those are the little things that are going to make us better. And basically, like, I want gamers that love hockey. Like, you can't just like hockey here and be like, oh, it's like this thing that I do on the side. Like, you need to love hockey. And if you're thinking about it, like in a relationship, like if you just like something, like, it's just like, okay, well, I can do without it. But if you love it, even if it's hard and mean to you, you're gonna still love it anyway, and you're gonna come back to it. So, I think those are the kind of big things, and they're kind of heady and silly, but it's true.
It's funny that you mentioned that some of your players were doing sprints because I watched your game this weekend. You played an exhibition game against Vermont where you went across the city to play them at the gut. And what I did notice is your goalie played phenomenal, Annika Lavender, and there was only so much you could do. But by the time the second period ran out, your skaters were exhausted, and then she was just getting bombarded. And so therefore, I was thinking, cardio has got to be a huge thing for your players, because if you're chasing the puck, for 3 periods, you got to be tired by the end of it. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. Also, UVM's rink is giant, and that didn't help us, just in full transparency. But I was really proud of them. They like really gave it literally everything they have. Like the whole game. I know it didn't probably appear that way, but they really did. And it's early in the season. We also have some restrictions because we have slightly different rules than some of the other opponents that we play based on based on sort of our school being Division II, but we play a Division I schedule. It makes it a little bit challenging sometimes. UVM's been on the ice for weeks. We've been on the ice for like a week and a half. So that is also a thing. And I expect if we had played UVM a little later in the season, the score wouldn't have been quite what it was. But I think we did some really good things. We did some things in that game, especially in the first period, that were like, okay, we have something here. Like we've got I don't even know how to explain it, but like a couple really clean breakouts. We were really well positioned for having, not worked on our D zone a whole heck of a lot. And we worked our butts off the whole time, even when the score was increasing. So I think there's a really good base there. And yeah, the competition was challenging. I would be interested in the future to play gym at my own place where the rink isn't as big and see what happens for a little while longer. But yeah, so I think it was good. I think there was a lot of, it showed our potential. So
I'm sure Jim Plumer would love that, head coach of the Vermont, in terms of, not having to get on a plane or a bus to play a game, just, just drive over to your rink. So I'm sure that he'd be open to that. So maybe you can schedule that for the home and home next year. All right. So one of the things that I've written about as it relates to the NUHA, and I wasn't making a judgment either way, but I was just saying, if you're considering one of the less successful teams in the NUHA, you should strongly consider top D3 schools as well, like NESCAC. If you want to go for a great education, also get a great education there. And the difference is that, hey, maybe you play a bigger role in a Division III team. Most of those teams win at least 20 games per season, so you can celebrate a little bit more. So what's your argument of coming to play for St. Mike's versus going to play at, Amherst, or a really good, if you're from Minnesota, River Falls, or one of the other University of Wisconsin teams that have had great success? What's your pitch to those kind of players?
Sure. I think my pitch is that we're actually in a really cool position because no one expects us to do anything. And it's really fun being the underdog sometimes. So I think that if you want to go to a NESCAC, especially a more successful NESCAC, and have the expectation be that you constantly win, I feel like that might get a little boring sometimes. Like it's kind of like, it's a lot of pressure. Whereas here, I think that being able to come in and be part of, hopefully, fingers crossed, like building our history and making us building us up for future success and turning some heads and putting us on the map is a real sell for us right now. Obviously, long term, the goal is for that not to be the sell, but right now, when I came in a year ago, I asked all the players kind of like why they committed to St. Mike's, and there were a lot of answers about academics and all of these other things, but every single person said that they wanted to be part of changing this program and turning it around. And I know that that's the same for the people that have worked through the Division I switch, regardless of outcome. And I think that there's something to be said about that. And I think there's something really bonding about that. And I think there's something really cool about that. I also think that, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. We got voted in last this year again, and by the coaches poll. And I think some people are going to be surprised. And I think my team is very motivated to put some make some people surprised again this year. And it just fuels the fire. So that's awesome. Kind of where we're at. Yeah.
Good to play with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. And I'm also glad that you didn't say, well, you get to tell all your friends that you played Division I, because that's the worst reason to be picking the school to go play at.
And that goes back to my recruiting point a little bit earlier as well. And we try to sort of suss that out a little bit. It's not like I want it to be a good fit for you, and the school needs to be a good fit, and you wanting to give back to the community needs to be a good fit, but you wanting to work hard and prove yourself is also kind of what we're looking for. So
perfect. All right, let's get into some recruiting things. So based on my tracking of commits, it looked like you have like 6 commits for 2026. And so far, I think I've only seen 1 commit for 2027. Are you still looking for players for 2026? And I'm assuming you're definitely looking for players still for 2027. This is your opportunity to let folks know if you're still looking for players.
Yeah, absolutely. We're still looking actually for a few for 2026. We're a little bit delayed in 2027, just frankly, because we're waiting on some information from the school school about what the finances are going to look like. So like, you know, hopefully in a positive direction for sure too, with scholarshiping, et cetera. So we've kind of put most, like 2027, we should start reaching out to people again here in the next couple weeks after that gets settled out. But right now we have a couple, I think we've got two forward slots and a D slot left for 2026. I am actively talking to people and looking to sort of sign a couple more people here in the next week or two. Again, just working through kind of the deal part of it on the scholarshiping, et cetera, and the financial aid package. So yeah, we're still looking. I'd say just if you've been reaching out, just keep reaching out. The beginning of the season is extremely challenging for us, especially, you know, we're pretty transparent about what our staffing is like. We don't have someone that's specifically designated to recruiting, so it's just me and Liv doing most of that. And so just be patient with us and keep reaching out. If you've been reaching out, we will get back to you. It's just this 2-week, 3-week window of getting the season up and running. We got to pay attention mostly to the people that are on campus and make sure we're a well-oiled machine, and then we'll work on starting to get back to folks. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. 2027's coming soon to you. We're just kind of making sure that what we are going to tell you is accurate. So
Perfect. 2 last questions for you.
Yeah.
First, this recruiting season cycle for 2027 has been highly accelerated so far as of today, which is 2/3 of the way through September. We're 2 months ahead of where we were last year in terms of the number of publicly announced commits. So we're basically where we were last year in November, but now in the middle of September. How are you able to compete with getting good players when all these players are committing to other schools for 2027, and you basically haven't really gotten the majority of your recruiting started underway yet?
I kind of look at it as a long game factor. I think a lot of this, we've gotten into I'm probably going to overshare my opinion, but we've gotten into this, let's call everyone on June 15th and like get ready to commit, and we're going to give them a deadline. These players are just ending their sophomore year of high school, and I want to make sure that our school is also the right fit for the players that are coming in. And I don't feel, for our program and for what we need here, that we need to be committing people that early. Just frankly, I want people that also want to care about their academics and aren't just going to get a call from a D1 school and see like, I have no idea what's about your school, but you're giving me an offer, so yeah, I'm in. So I think that it actually plays in our favor, because it's going to give me the players and give us the players that we want and need anyway, based on where we currently are at and with kind of the resources that we have, if that makes sense. So and there's also such a small differential now between those bubble players of Division I and Division III, especially for us. Like we're the cusp, right? Like we're the team that's there, and us, and along with a couple others. So it's just finding the players that are interested in their academics as well. It's finding the players who the thing I just talked about, you can go to this next school, or you can come to us, and like, yeah, you can play Division I, but we can actually make a huge impact and you can make a huge impact and a huge difference here. So I think I'm not concerned about it. I think that in general, we've gotten a little bit over the top with some of it, in terms of the recruiting. And like, I also want to make sure I'm selling you like, I'm giving you accurate information, and I'm not gonna call you up and be like, yeah, commit, without having to talk to you about the financials that I don't currently have. So I'm just trying to make sure. I want you to be here for 4 years. The portal is a whole thing, and I want our players to be the right fit for St. Mike's and want to stay with us. I don't want to have to keep going out and finding new players to replace our roster every single year because people haven't had a good time, and because people haven't didn't think about all those things like academics and financial aid and all of that thing in advance. So we're just a little bit more of a methodical, there we go, methodical process here. And 2027s, if you haven't heard from us, like, don't worry, again, we're going to get to it soon.
Perfect. All right, last question. What advice do you have for players and parents about the recruiting process, especially some that are considering St. Michael's for like 2028?
Yeah, absolutely. So Number one is kind of know your recruiting rules. Like 2028s, if you've reached out, I can't talk to you, unfortunately, until after you're done with your sophomore year. So just know that we're not trying to ignore you. We're just not really allowed to answer as outside maybe of just like a, hey, we can't answer you. I think one of the biggest things is know that we get so many communications, like so many. And so be patient, but also don't be afraid to follow up. Like one email is probably not it. Like follow up with us. I think there's still a little bit of a myth that you're just going to go to a showcase and get discovered. Like please reach out to us, especially if you're not necessarily a player that is going to like the Duluths of the world, right? Like reach out to us. We want to find you. We want to find the right fit. The other thing is unless you're like, for sure that we're coming to a tournament, like please also send us video so that we can do a quick look and get a sense for who you are as a player. Within that, it was super helpful when you make it as easy as possible for us. So like, not like, hey, my video can be found here with no link. Like, please put the link in. We're going through a million emails. Please also, if you can, circle yourself or draw an arrow or something so that I'm not like, okay, where's number 19? And you're showing me a whole game, like clip it out, take the time. It makes a huge difference. And then the last piece, I feel like I had one more thing. The last piece is just, again, just be persistent with us. And make sure you're updating us too. We just, especially for our school, just because similar to what I was just talking about, just because I don't answer in September doesn't mean I won't answer in December, especially for those like upcoming 2027s, 2028s, all of those. We'll answer you eventually. It's just a lot. We have a lot on our plates and we're doing our best, and we may have seen you and we might not be able to talk to you until a certain point. So
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Great hearing about your hockey background, obviously going into detail about St. Michael's, the school, and what you're doing with the program and what your plans are and your philosophies. So, and then obviously some phenomenal recruiting advice. So thank you so much for doing this, Meghan.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate your time, and it's always great to connect and be able to share and help inform people on our school, but also just what's going on in hockey. So
perfect. Best of luck with the season.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Ray.
I want to thank Meghan for coming on the podcast and answering all my tough questions about St. Mike's hockey, the New Hawk Conference, and the current recruiting dynamics. You can connect with Meghan on the St. Michael's website or via her Champs app profile. Links to both are in the show notes.